Hi, I'm Kathleen Whyman, author of Humorous Women's Fiction, and I am delighted to be one of the co-hosts for Author Events, Author Talks. And today, got Jeevani Charika, who writes feel-good women's fiction and rom-coms. You also write as Rhoda Baxter and have won
Mhm.
multiple. Your books have been shortlisted for multiple awards.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Haven't won yet, but one of these days.
I think shortlisting is as good as winning. In fact, long listing is as good as winning. You've already
Fair enough.
proved how good your work is, and then it is just down to somebody being subjective on the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yes. But you're taking part in Bournemouth's Romance Writing Festival, which is 17th
Mhm.
and 18th of October. We'll come on to that. But to start with, thank you so much for giving me the time to chat, especially as I know you have lots of deadlines going on. Um, yes, that nervous laughter there.
Yeah, slightly hysterical. Yeah.
But maybe we could start off with you telling me how you got started with writing, and how long you've been writing for, and the books that you've had published.
Okay. I don't know. I've always been a big reader. My mom taught me to read when I was about 3, so I've always been a big reader. And I don't know, somewhere in my childhood, I decided I wanted to become a writer. So always wanted to write. The first book I had the idea for the book when I was doing my postgrad. Um, and it just kind of sat there and marinated, I just didn't have time. And then I finished my PhD and I signed up for a like an evening course at the local FE college to start writing. Um, and it took a long time because writing your first book is like super hard. Writing any book is hard, but yeah, writing your first one, you learn how to write a book by writing a book.
Yes.
Yeah, so it took like 3 years, something like that. Anyway, sent it off, got lots of rejections. And then I thought, oh, I know, I'll join the RNA's new writer scheme because in those days you could join halfway through the year and there were still spaces, whereas now like it's
Romantic Novel
filled
Association.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got my feedback and it was really super useful actually because somebody is giving me feedback specifically on my book, not just general feedback. But one of the things she said was, you're trying to write this serious book, serious women's fiction book, but you've got a comedy voice that's trying to get out. Have you considered writing something just for fun? And I thought, okay, I'll send this book, I'll make the changes and I'll send this book out again on submission, but I'll write a book just for fun. And I had a blast, right? This book I wrote in a year, it just poured out. It was great. And so I started submitting that, and then I wrote another one, a sequel to the fun one. And yeah, and then I got a American publisher, American ebook publisher. Back then, we didn't have ebook publishers in the UK.
Hmm.
Yeah, an American ebook publisher picked it up within about a year or so, starting to submit. So
Mm.
yeah, so that was great. And they said rather pointedly, I felt, but maybe they didn't mean it like that. They said, "Well, will you be using a pen name?" And I thought, oh, that's a good idea. So I did my PhD on a bacterium called Rhoda Baxter sporoides. So I called myself Rhoda Baxter. And she was like, yeah, that's a great name. Much easier to spell, much easier to Google. Let's do that. So yeah, so I wrote as Rhoda Baxter for quite a long time. That first book I kept sending out, and I got lots of lovely rejections. Most of them saying that book had Sri Lankan characters in it. It was women's fiction, but it wasn't about their Sri Lankanness. They just happened to
Yeah.
not be. Yeah. Um, and I kept getting these rejections saying, I like it, but I don't know that I could sell it. So this is like early 2000s. We were still doing it by post.
Mm.
So long time ago. Um, and in 2020, well, I managed to get an agent through it and, all of that later. But in 2020, after the whole Black Lives Matter and everything happened, I had a couple of offers for that book. And it did finally come out about 11 years after I started submitting it as my eighth, ninth book. And that was this one. It was A Convenient Marriage, which was published by Hera Books.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I've read that
yeah.
book. Great.
Yeah. Oh, it got shortlisted for an award as well. So yeah, it was. I'm glad I persevered with it
Yeah.
because it's the book of my heart.
Well done for being so resilient. But I mean, that was hurtful, I would imagine, to it sounds like because they happen to be of Sri Lankan descent, then that was what people.
Yeah, I did feel like it. I mean, I started self-publishing in 2017 and I wrote some novellas and I put Sri Lankan characters into those. And I kind of did that because I didn't think I'd be able to place them anywhere else. And I have children. I want my daughters to be able, if they want to find a book where they can see themselves.
Definitely.
So it was something that was important to me, and I didn't realize quite how important it was until I got this review from an American reviewer who'd read A Convenient Marriage, and she said, "This is the first time I've seen somebody that I can genuinely relate to that is like me in a book." And like I started crying when I read the review. And I thought, oh my goodness, it's much more important to me than I thought it was. So yeah, and now I've got a sort of happy balance. So I write for HQ books as Jeevani Charika, and they've always got one Sri Lankan character as a main character. They're not about being Sri Lankan, they're just rom-coms. They just happen to be brown.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have characters of different ethnicities in my book.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I've read your wife support system.
I think, and in fact, so I joined the Romantic Novelists Association, the New Writer Scheme as well. Had my book critiqued, and it wasn't until afterwards when we met at the RNA conference and you confided in me that you had been the person that read my book and gave me my
Yeah, I really like your book.
thank you. And yeah, it was brilliant, that feedback. That was really kind. And one of the things was actually that one of my main characters was coincidentally of Sri Lankan heritage. And I hadn't even mentioned this until quite a way in the book. And you said, although it's irrelevant to the story, it would be better to mention that earlier on, just so because people get a picture in their head of
Picture in the head, yeah.
what they look like. So yeah, that was great advice. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And so when you started off as Rhoda Baxter then as your author name, and when did you were you able to go into your real name, or why did you feel that you wanted a different writing name?
Always the plan was for the women's fiction to be Jeevani Charika. So
Apologies.
A Convenient Marriage was already written, and I wrote another one again with Sri Lankan characters, and that's When Soma Met Sahan. But before either of those came out, those were still out on sub. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle got engaged, and my agent happened to just be having drinks, and somebody was like, "Oh, what would be really great is if a woman of color could write a book about a woman of color who marries a prince." And my agent was like, "I know just the person." And but the thing was, right, because there was a really short time period between them getting engaged and them getting married. I think it was 6 months.
Mm,
And so by the time this conversation happened, there was less than 6 months. So I had to write this book in 3 months. And it was not something I'd like to do again. It was quite stressful, but it was a really good thing for me because I had to learn to plot. I'm not a natural plotter. I had to learn to plot at least loosely. I don't know. Like I learned that writing fast is actually pretty good. Some of the stuff that I wrote, I don't remember writing, but it's pretty good when I go back to read it. So yeah, writing fast is something that I can do. Writing fast is something that produces good results. All of that I learned. I still wouldn't want to write a book in 3 months, but I can now write one in 6 without stressing too much because I know I can do it.
that's impressive. Yeah, I guess when you're writing fast, you're so immersed in the story, aren't you, that
Yeah.
you're having to recap and you know exactly what's going on. So that's helpful. But 3 months, yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah,
Well
three
done.
months is quite bad.
It's
Yeah.
easy to read. So yes, you're published by two different publishing houses, aren't you? HQ and Mills and Boon. So
Yeah.
which are your different author names for those, and how do you separate the style of books?
Okay. So that's a couple of questions in one there. Okay, so HQ books are as Jeevani Charika, and they are rom-coms. They are um, more Sri Lankan characters.
Mm.
Mills and Boon is Rhoda Baxter, so I'm reviving that pen name because I hadn't published anything under that name for a long time. Coincidentally, the heroine has Sri Lankan descent, but it's just like a couple of throwaway lines in the thing. But the next one probably won't be, so I can write whatever. The main reason for actually that being published as Rhoda Baxter was I had a non-compete clause in my contract in HQ that said that for a limited time they had the Jeevani Charika name. So yeah, this is like when you get into publishing, this is where the complexities start coming in. You've got to make sure you're not stepping on one contract in order to get another contract.
Yeah.
So yeah, but through not deadlines, publication dates being moved around, both the books are coming out in November. So I've got 2 books coming out under 2 separate names with 2 different publishers in the same month.
Goodness.
Which is madness.
Yeah.
Like, which one do I talk about? So I've got How Can I Resist You, which is a rom-com coming out, as written as Jeevani Charika, coming out at the start of November with HQ. And that's a workplace romance. Then Christmas with the Secret Tycoon, which, as you can tell by the title, is Mills and Boon. And it's got Christmas and a secret tycoon in it. So yeah, so it's a heroine who's been the victim of a con man and has trouble trusting people, but she falls in love with this guy who is there in disguise. He's being a secret shopper. He can't get out of this lie. So yeah, and obviously when she finds out, she's not very happy. So yes.
Well, that sounds great. Well, they both
2 very different books.
Yes, they do. So did you have to write them at the same time, or is it like you said with the way the publishing schedules worked out that you were able to write them completely individually?
I wrote them completely individually. The Mills and Boon book, I wrote the first draft about 2 years before I signed the contract.
Okay.
So it spans like these 2 HQ contracts that I was doing. So yeah, I wrote it kind of in between books, and then there was lots of like toing and froing and revisions and everything before they offered me a contract. A lot of revisions actually, but it did mean that once I'd signed the contract, edits were really light because I'd done all of the structural stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So writing them didn't overlap very much at all.
Yeah.
Thankfully, because I can only work on one book at a time. I just don't have the headspace to do it.
No, I don't have the headspace to write one book at a time.
No, I'm always amazed at people who have like 2 or 3 projects on the go at the same time. I'm just like, how do you not get confused?
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know. So they're both in November. Are you working on other books for either HQ or Mills and Boon at the moment?
I've just delivered the 2026 book for HQ. That one's called How Not to Plan a Bling Wedding. And I'm currently writing the next Mills and Boon. And they are very different styles of book.
Yes.
So yeah, Mills and Boon is a very particular product, and you kind of have to fit with that product. They're shorter books, but they're very much more focused on the couple. And I love a secondary plot line, and I love my secondary characters. So in my other books, I've just got loads of extra people. In the Mills and Boon, I have to really focus. Okay. So I keep putting extra people in by mistake and have to strip them out. But I'm learning. It's a new skill set for me to be that focused.
Yes, yes. So I guess you have to be pretty organized with writing under different pen names and for different styles for different publishers. So what is your writing style? Are you organized, or are you more of a pantsy? That's planned for the 3-month one.
I'm kind of halfway in between. I can't, if I plan in too much detail, I've told myself the story, I'm bored. It's really hard to write, it's just like pulling teeth. But what I do is I have the sort of the tentpole scenes, the major turning points. And I know what the character arcs are for the hero and the heroine, because they both have to have change. And I know like the external plot points. So I've got like the big ideas, and I have usually just one side of A4 And I'm still pencil and paper person. Despite, I could do it all in Canva, but I'd prefer to do it just pencil and paper. Yeah, and then so yeah, halfway in between. I kind of know roughly where I'm going.
Mm.
That allows space for things to change and things to come in. And
I'm exactly the same. I have to have points to follow to make sure the story is going to end up where
yeah,
it needs to be. But the fun part is how you get there, I think.
yeah, because there's
How you
stuff
make
that
those points happen.
you discover as you write. It's
Yes.
just the characters do things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's brilliant. So at Romance Writing Festival in Bournemouth, you're doing a talk about writing across genres. Can you give any little sneak previews of what you're going to be chatting about?
Well, it's actually a panel, so I think I'm chairing the panel. So what we're hoping is to talk about a lot of the similarities with books, because books are books, and story arcs are story arcs.
Yes.
Similarities with books, differences, the different tropes of different genres. Like tropes get a really bad name, but every genre has its trope. Crime has its tropes, sci-fi has its tropes, fantasy has its tropes, romance is just more out and proud about them about their tropes. But they all have their tropes, and they're all different, and you do have to hit them to make it a satisfying story in that genre.
Yes.
So hopefully we'll talk a little bit about that, and also about the difficulties in crossing genre. Um, so I've wrote a fantasy book which is not out yet because not found a publisher yet. I only finished it end of last year, so still early days. But yeah, writing fantasy was slightly different. Again, different tropes. I've read a lot of fantasy, never thought about writing it. But then I discovered that cozy fantasy exists, and I'm like, yeah, this is my fantasy. Um, so yeah, just writing different genres and how, if there are any mindset changes that you need to make when you switch genres, that kind of thing. And the people on my panel are amazing, and they write across genres. And I'm really looking forward to learning some tips on how to do it.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of tips, what
Ooh.
are your top writing tips for
The
both
main one,
new and existing authors?
okay. The main one, especially for new authors, is to write. That the best way to learn to write a novel is to write a novel. Um, because yeah, you quite often get asked, do you have any rituals? Do you write every day? You don't need to have any rituals. You don't have to write every day. If it works for you, great. But whatever works for you, just do it is the most important thing.
Yes. I was thinking, yes, you can edit a badly written page. You can't edit a
Yeah,
blank.
yeah,
Mm,
exactly.
okay. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you. You mentioned Canva. You have a YouTube channel, Canva Tips for Authors, where you show writers how to use Canva. How did that come about?
I became a Canva nerd. So when I got my first publishing deal, I kind of assumed that I would be given stuff like graphics. All I got was, here's your book cover, here's your link, bye. And I was like, ah. So I had to learn, and this is again quite a while ago. Uh, Twitter existed. It was still kind of, it
Mm,
wasn't that new. Twitter was a thing. So you needed, but you needed pictures for Twitter by this point, because like Twitter to start with was just text.
mm,
Um, yeah. So it's like, okay, I need to learn how to make pictures. And Canva was this like very new, free piece of software that was very basic. There was very little you could do, but you could make pictures with it, and it was free. And so that was more than 10 years ago. And like Canva grew, and I kind of grew with it. And I really enjoyed playing with it. And I, would spend a lot of time like, oh, there's this new thing you can do in Canva. Let me see if I can try that.
mm,
And eventually I started talking to people, and they would be like, how did you make that? And I'm like, oh, Canva. And they're like, but yeah, but how?
mm.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to start recording these and putting them in. And then yeah, started doing it consistently. So I've got about 2.5 years worth of weekly tutorials. Pretty much anything you want to make as an author in Canva, there will be a tutorial on my channel.
Right, I need to follow that because I'm terrible. So you have to do
This
your own promotion for the two books that are coming out, I guess, graphics.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you kind of think, oh yeah, the publishers, they know what they're doing, but sometimes all they're doing is getting an intern to go and play with Canva. So
Yeah.
if you can do your own, you'll probably do a better job because you care more.
Yes, and you've only got the one book to think about, I guess, or
You've
two.
only got the
Your
one book that,
best.
yeah, that's true. I've done the graphics for one, but not for the other, and I really must get on with that. But yeah, Canva is mostly most of the stuff that you can do for free. You don't need Canva Pro even,
Yeah.
and it's just a time. And if you have a tutorial, it cuts the time down massively because I spend a lot of time doing the trial and error. It's because, then people don't have to. But
Mm.
yeah, I do it because I do at the end of, when there's no more words left in your head. You
Yeah.
get to the end of the evening and I'm like, I could doom scroll, I could play with Canva. I'm just going to go play with Canva.
Good, putting that time
So
to good use.
yeah, well, I find it relaxing and fun. So
That's great. Said at the beginning about how your books have been shortlisted for multiple awards. How important do you feel awards and competitions are to writers, and how have they benefited you?
how important are they? I don't know. I don't think they make that much difference for sales, from
Mm,
what I've heard. I've never won anything. I've been shortlisted. This thing is nice because, as authors, we're naturally quite panicky people, and we're quite prone to going, oh, is it because my book is awful? And it's rarely that. It's rarely like this is a very subjective business, but being shortlisted is lovely because you think, oh yeah, actually my book isn't bad. It's fine. It's great. Sales are sales. They're just doing what they do. The book is fine. So from that perspective, it is really good. It's really good for your confidence. Um, it's also nice when you are sending submission letters or pitch letters to say shortlisted for this many awards because it just helps you stand out a little bit
mm,
more. Um, yeah, I think it's just nice. I generally tend to submit for anything that I'm eligible for.
mm,
Um, I used to send it out to the US competitions, but I stopped doing that because it got expensive and I never shortlisted on there because US romance and UK romance are very different animals. What we consider to be romance in the UK is considered women's fiction in the US
okay,
because in the US romance is very much more the Mills and Boon model, very
right.
focused, whereas here romance is, you've got like family stuff happening, you've got friends stuff happening, and you've got the romance. It's much more incidental. I mean,
Mm,
that's the spine of the story, but there's more other stuff. And so in America, that's considered to be women's fiction. So I learned that, so I stopped bothering. But yeah, I enter a lot of the UK competitions. Some of them, basically, if it's free to enter, do. Why
yeah,
not? What have you
nothing
got
to
to
lose.
lose? If you have to pay to enter, see what you can manage.
Yeah, sometimes you get feedback, don't you, if you pay to enter. So I was shortlisted for Comedy Women in Print Prize, and
Mm-hmm.
that got me the attention of an agent. Up to that point,
Yeah.
I hadn't, so that was great. And I think it does just, yeah, give you a little bit of validation, kudos, I guess, that yes, like yes, something a bit different, and other people have seen and liked your work. So
Mm.
credibility, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing to have. Yeah, it is. It really is. But luckily, lots of people are enjoying your books. And so where can
Yay.
yes, well, people can come and see you, of course, at the Romance
Yeah.
Festival. If you haven't already got your ticket, go to romancewritingfestival.co.uk and book now. Are you on the 17th or the 18th of October? Brilliant, isn't it? Such a good program. So yes, so in fact, everyone book both days, and then you can come and see all of the talks, including Jeevani's. So writing across genres, that sounds really, really interesting. Fantastic. Okay, thank you so much for your time. It was lovely to speak to you. And yes, happy publication for both books in November. Good luck with the next ones, and enjoy
Thank you.
Romance Writing Festival. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.